Welcome to After Party, everyone, our inaugural edition of the show. Thank you so very much for joining. I want to also thank, of course, Megyn Kelly, the wonderful Megyn Kelly, who is so supportive and so brilliant, and her entire team. Megyn's team matches her brilliance. If you can
also follow me as well, The Curious Mind 23, where you guys are watching this right now. 25, sorry about that. I hope all my Freedom Loving Patriots are having the best day ever. Tucker Carlson, our favorite journalist, if you guys have been following me since the beginning, interested in what he has to say. Let's get it started.
I can believe it. So I'm very grateful to them to be joining all of you here on our new show with MK Media After Party. We are going to be here Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And you can head over to afterpartyemily.com for more information. Now, it's been an incredibly busy news day. We are joined by Tucker Carlson. We will then be joined by Rachel Bovard and Inez Stepman to react a little bit to the conversation that I have with Tucker. Before we get to Tucker, who I know everybody is eagerly waiting to hear from, I just want to say what we're doing a little bit with this show. So bear with me for a moment. I want to put the least partisan and I do a little bit of politics and a little bit of late night, and we just want to have fun doing it. So on that note, thank you all for tuning in. And I am beyond excited right now on this very busy news day to bring in the one and only Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is obviously the host of the Tucker Carlson Show. He joins us now. So Tucker Carlson, thank you.
He's been taking a lot of hate. I love Tucker Carlson. Let me know what you guys think.
Thank you for being our very first guest on this new show.
Oh, I'm grateful. And I loved what you said about Megyn Kelly. There are very few people who don't need to go out of their way to help others. And Megyn Kelly went out of her way to help me at Fox. I've never figured out why. I've never stopped being grateful for it. She's that kind of person. I don't know if that comes through. I don't know if people know that, but it's an absolute fact. So it was just nice to hear you say that.
Well, people should know that because it does make a big difference when you start watching the output of journalists. Yeah. When you know that they're good people, it does make a big difference. And she is one of them.
There aren't many, Emily.
Nope. But we have one of them joining us now, and that is you, Tucker. So I'm going to start with a question that everyone, I'm sure, has on their mind right now. Now, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social at 6:02 p.m. that about 2 hours from actually right now, so around midnight East Coast time, Israel and Iran will enter a, quote, complete and total ceasefire. Now, Tucker, you recently predicted, and people are, of course, recirculating this now, quote, the first week of a war.
It looks like Israel struck, but it looks like as of now, the peace is there.
With Iran could easily kill thousands of Americans. It could also collapse our economy as surging oil prices trigger unmanageable inflation. Yes. Consider the effects of $30 gasoline, but the second week of the war could be even worse. End quote. Now, Ted Cruz is already taking a victory lap. He says, quote, it turns out that Tucker was wrong. I just want to get your thoughts on this, Tucker. Did Trump prove you and all of us who doubted the wisdom of this strike wrong tonight?
Well, you could ask Trump. I mean, was this fraught with like existential peril? Of course. I'm so grateful that he brought it in for a landing. I mean, I think we should be grateful to him. I think we should be grateful to God. I think we should understand how close we came. But I also think we should step back and ponder what we've learned. And what we've learned is who cares about the fortunes of the United States and who doesn't. And Ted Cruz doesn't, obviously. The people who acknowledge no risk at all because they were so focused on helping another country, like Ted Cruz, or like, you know, the many people who revealed themselves in the last 2 weeks, Mark Levin, chief among them, like those people should not have any access to power at all. Those people rolled the dice with your life and with the lives of your children. It's disgusting. And so, I mean, just ask yourself, is Mark Levin concerned at all about the United States, like at all? And the answer is no. Mark Levin is a repulsive ghoul whose entire sex life consists of watching other people get blown up. He was upset that there was a ceasefire and said so. How could you be upset with a ceasefire? How could you be upset that people are no longer dying? By the way, I think the ceasefire is real. We have no idea where anything goes in life. That's up to God. But as of right now, it's absolutely real, and we should be thankful for it. And so if your first instinct is this is bad, then you've just told us who you are. And look, that's between Mark Levin and God. And I think it's going to be a tough conversation. But for our purposes, you know, Mark Levin should not have access to power. I mean, he almost pushed the president of the United States into a path that would have destroyed the presidency and the United States and a lot of other countries too. So like a victory lap? Really? No, he was thwarted John Podhoretz was thwarted. All the people who are thrilled by the direction this was going, Bill Kristol, people who are avowed enemies of Donald Trump and are not at all interested in the United States, like they were stopped before getting what they wanted, which was regime change and military occupation of Iran. So they can spin it. They're professional liars. So of course they're lying, but the facts tell a very different story. They didn't get what they wanted. And thank God they didn't.
The warmonger neocons were praising him. I mean, it was crazy seeing the divide in the MAGA base right now. I was iffy about this, but so far it looks like there hasn't been any more conflict. Let's pray it stays that way. What do you guys think?
So why do you think the Mark Levins of the world didn't get what they wanted in this case, at least as of right now? Because the president just
Trump doesn't want nuclear war. I mean, as he said a million times, like he doesn't want Iran to have the bomb because he doesn't want more bombs, because he's afraid of nuclear war, because he understands what it is. I've talked to him about this on and off camera many times, and he has unique among world leaders, like an instinctive aversion to killing millions of people in seconds. And so he's worried about nuclear war. It's the reason Tulsi Gabbard supported him. It's the reason they hate Tulsi Gabbard now, because she raises the very real specter of mass annihilation. And people like Mark Levin just don't care. They're nihilists, but they're hardly conservative. There's nothing conservative about rolling the dice on your country, starting a voluntary war. It's like freaking insane. And so, kudos, gratitude, and more to Donald Trump for stopping that. But it's not because he was following the advice of Mark Levin or Ted Cruz. I mean, these people are buffoons who, again, revealed their priorities. And those priorities have nothing to do with the United States. They were absolutely willing to destroy the United States, and including Donald Trump, for an objective that had nothing to do with the United States. And I think every honest person knows that. I mean, that's what we just learned. Like, under stress, you reveal who you really are. You show your real priorities, and they did. And like, again, that's between them and God. But I think going forward, people like that cannot be allowed to steal the mantle of America first when America's interests are not first on their list of concerns, like not even close.
So I think,
by the way, after this interview, we're going to see what Trump responded to in regards to Israel and Iran today. He was pissed. We're going to review that after this video.
The first person to ever use the words Mark Levin and sex life in the same sentence.
No, but and I'm not being mean. Look, it's clear that there are certain people, for whatever reason, it's connected to age. That's obvious. All the people who are most excited about killing seem to be old. I don't know any 35-year-olds who are really excited when people die, when there are videos of dead people on the internet. They don't get off on that. They're like, because they are living their lives. They are, in the truest sense, pro-life. But there is something about some older people, and I've always had great admiration and respect for older people. I was raised that way. I revered my father, for example, who lived to 84. But there is a category of older people that would include Rupert Murdoch. It would include Lindsey Graham, who turns 70 next month. It would definitely include Mark Levin, for whom, like, killing obviously provides some sort of deep emotional charge. And I don't mean to be glib and say it's sexual. I'm not like the Freudian here, but I mean, clearly you watch Mark Levin talk about killing people, and it's really dark, and it's certainly not something that any Christian can be comfortable with, because Christians are not for killing people, just period. Just to remind you, and I know that there are a lot of evangelicals who are like very excited to kill people. Check yourself for a second. Is Jesus's message we need to drop more bombs on people? Is that what you're arguing? I mean, I'm sorry to bring it to that, but I feel that I can say that as a deeply imperfect, flawed, ignorant Christian who's trying to understand the message of the religion. But I'm pretty certain it's not let's drop more bombs on people. And to see pastors saying that, that the neocons, many of whom are Jewish, get all the attack, all the hate or whatever. But it's not just them. There are a lot of evangelical ministers who are worse than Mark Levin, in my opinion. So I just want to say that because it's true.
Yeah.
And I think they should measure what they're saying against the gospel. And it's like, is there alignment there? There's not. There's no alignment there.
What Mark Levin is already talking about, Iran needing to be pushed to sign a document of unconditional surrender. And I wanted to ask you about our friend Dave Smith's reaction to today's news as it was unfolding. He said, quote, even if the strikes, quote, did destroy a lot of equipment, the Iranians can rebuild and the regime will remain in power, now more incentivized than ever to get nuclear weapons. So two-part question for you here, Tucker. First, do you agree with Dave? I think I agree with Dave. And second point is, if that is true, then is Mark Levin not pushing us into a much more dangerous situation? And will that have sway with the president? That's been the goal
from the beginning. And all this stuff about Iran can't have nukes. I mean, Donald Trump believed that for sure. He's been saying it for a decade. But I don't think a lot of the people who were pushing Donald Trump to further engage in a war with Iran were concerned about that at all. What they want is regime change. They said it, by the way. They're saying it now. I mean, let's take them at their word. They want regime change. Well, what does that mean? You know, you don't change a regime by bombing it. There's no track record of success there. You change the regime by killing the people who run it. And in the end, it's only kind of possible to steer that country in the direction you want by occupying it with people, which is to say troops. So they're arguing for a ground war with a country of 90 million people. And I know it's not interesting, the population of Iran, to Ted Cruz, because the details don't matter, because he doesn't care about the United States, obviously. But if you do care about the United States, you have to ask, like, okay, regime change, what does that mean exactly? What does that mean for us? How do we do that? Like, how do you affect that? And the answer is by destroying your own country. So, like, let's start with, no, we're not doing that. Let's do everything we can short of that to get, the result that we want. But Levin, again, doesn't care about the United States. And they're all wearing the Trump skin suit right now because they think it suits their purposes. These are people who hated Trump. They're anti-Trump. They're never Trump. And that would include a lot of people on Fox News who I worked with for 15 years. I know what their political views are. They're my colleagues. They hate Trump. They hate him personally. They hate his agenda. They hate his economic views. And they really hate his foreign policy views, which in private they describe as insane and isolationist. He's a Nazi and all this stuff. I mean, they really have contempt for him. They kept him off the air at Fox News while I was there against my protests. So that's all true. And it's very frustrating as a literal person who cares about what's true to see people jumping up, Mark Levin or Laura Loomer, that's the world's creepiest human. I don't even know where she came from or who she is exactly, but she's running around. I'm Donald Trump's, defender. It's bizarre.
Champion.
Couple things. What do you guys think of the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview? One, Loomer does do some good exposing, but I mean, I am not with her in this situation. Let me know what you guys think.
And I'm the arbiter of what it means to be for America. Someone who, again, has no interest in the United States, demonstrated no interest. So I think it's just important. It's not a matter of score settling, and I don't care what Mark Levin does in his private life. I don't care what his opinions are. And Laura Loomer, I'm not even really sure who she is. However, if people like that are able to take over a political movement whose stated goal is to serve the United States, first and foremost, America first, make America great again, if those people can take control of that political movement, first of all, it's an offense against reality and truth. But second, it's really dangerous for the country. I mean, they washed out of the Democratic Party, the same people, and now they're trying to take over the Republican Party. How about no? Unbroken track record of failure, unbroken track record of ideas that hurt the United States in measurable ways, impoverished the United States, put us in unpayable debt, killed a ton of people, destabilized the world, caused a refugee crisis in Europe, destroyed Europe. That's a lot of destruction for one group of people and one set of really bad ideas, the John Boltons, the Bill Kristols. Can they be allowed to take over the Trump White House? No. How about no? Just as an American. I mean, I don't really care what people think of me at this point. I'm 56. You were wrong. Well, I've been wrong many, many times. I'll be wrong many, many more times. But the one thing I am is sincere. I really mean it. I don't care about the effect on me. I don't want to relive Iraq. And I know the people who did it. I lived among them. I defended it. I repeated their talking points. Not doing that again. And we came really close to doing that again because of Mark Levin and Laura Loomer and the rest of these morons who've never even left New Jersey. Like, they don't know anything about the world. That's the other thing. They're dumb. They don't know. Not only they don't know the population of Iran, they don't know anything. They don't know the nations that border it. They just don't know anything. And I'm not making an argument for expertise or having been there, but I am making an argument for being responsible when you demand that the U.S. military do certain things. Okay, then tell me what happens next. They can't. Because again, they don't care. No,
it's like
enough of them.
It's like we're playing Tucker's enemies bingo. Like we're
well, I'm sorry to be that way. And it's not, I mean, I've never attacked Mark Levin. I've never attacked that crazy person whose name I just used a couple of times, probably shouldn't have. But all I'm saying is this is really sinister. It's really bad. And because we were just in a crisis for a week, we saw who people are. We saw what they cared about. And I've got nothing against Ted Cruz personally. I feel sorry for Ted Cruz, obviously a totally hollow person taking instructions. But I do think we learned this is not someone who should be influencing wars, because he just doesn't know anything. He doesn't care. And he's not putting America's interests anywhere near the top of his priorities. And that's, that like we saw that. It's on tape. And it's kind of hard to unsee it. So this is the moment to just draw a line and say, we can have all kinds of disagreements, and I'm sure that we will, over all kinds of things, including wars. But if you've shown that you just don't care what happens to the United States, if you're one of the people who said, the people in Gaza are so dangerous that they have to be expelled from Gaza, and by the way, maybe we should move them to the US. People said that. I think Ben Shapiro said that. If you are telling me that the people who live in Gaza are so evil that they can't live where they were born, they have to move somewhere else, and oh, by the way, they should move to my country, what are you saying? You're saying that your country is a trash can into which we can throw our refuse. And that's their attitude. And as an American, I was born here, I'm going to die here. I just want to raise my voice and say, no, you can't treat my country with that level of contempt.
Have you spoken to the president since
What's your guys' opinion of what he just said? Makes a lot of sense to me.
last week?
Yeah, I have, actually.
Okay. And on that note, are you afraid going forward that there's still significant room for, we keep using Mark Levin, I'm really using it as a stand-in for a group of people that include Lindsey Graham, that include John Bolton, for that wing of the Republican Party, the broader conservative movement, to still have significant input over policy in the Middle East, but particularly Iran?
Am I concerned that like normal people will have input, or am I concerned? The normal people won.
Right.
Again, it's not even ideological. I've got all kinds of theories about all kinds of things. Some of them are stupid, probably. But it's not even about like what your worldview is. It's just super simple. I live here. My 4 kids live here. I hope to have grandchildren here. The country's got a ton of problems. I think the government should focus on those problems first and foremost, not other people's problems. Doesn't mean I'm not an isolationist. I shouldn't ignore the world. I've been all around though. I've been to like every country in the world practically. I've been everywhere. I'm really interested in the world. I don't hardly want to be isolated. Of course. Mark Levin never gets out of his studio. You're an isolationist. Okay. No, I'm not an isolationist. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that as a father treats his family, a president and a government should treat their country, which is put the country first. That's it. Your first concern. Doesn't mean I don't care about my neighbor's kids. I do. I love my neighbor's kids. But I love my kids most because they're my kids. That's all I'm saying. And show that you mean it by acting that way. And so you should be a lot more upset with the Mexican drug cartels, which kill people I know in my town, including recently, than you are with the mullahs in Iran. That's not a defense of the mullahs in Iran. I'm not pro-mullah at all. But like from my perspective as an American, I'm a lot more afraid of the drug cartels than I am of the mullahs. And that doesn't make me a bigot. And by the way, if you say that it does, you've just disqualified yourself. Like that's just sort of thing. I'm just kind of sick of identity politics. I really am. I voted against it actually in November when I voted for Donald Trump.
I agree.
I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of laws that single out one group for protection or punishment. I think we should be treated as citizens regardless of what group we're from. I just don't like the whole group thing. Mm-hmm. They would always say, you're a white supremacist. No, I'm not. I'm mad at a lot of white people, actually, mostly if you want to know the truth. But I don't want to think of people in terms of the group they were born into. I just don't like that kind of thinking. I don't like the left because it has institutionalized that kind of thinking. And so when I see members of Congress passing laws that apply to like a small percentage of Americans, I'm like, wait a second, I voted against this. I'm not against those Americans at all. I just think that all laws should apply to all Americans equally. Your concern should be for people on the basis of their citizenship, not their racial, ethnic, or religious group, on their citizenship. The U.S. government should care about U.S. citizens.
Yes.
Not some, all, including the
Yes.
ones you disagree with and don't like. All, because we're all citizens. That's a unifying message. And that's being lost. And Republicans in the Congress don't seem to agree. They're all totally into identity politics all of a sudden. I thought we hated that. I think my memory is too good to live in this country because like things change and people are like, oh no, it's always been this way. No, it's not. Mark Levin was not a leading host on Fox. He was a joke. Mark Levin's not a foreign policy expert. He's a guy with a like weird personal life and like a
Who
love
else cannot stand Mark Levin? Warmonger and neocon.
of killing. No, we're not for identity politics. We're against that. I remember this. Anyway, I think it's important to be the guy who remembers, and I want to be that guy.
So saying, because you just used the word unifying, and it turned out to be a perfect segue to a question I wanted to ask, saying that Mark Levin, Ted Cruz don't care about America.
Yeah.
Is that like, because a lot of people might look at that and say, Tucker, they probably think they do care about America. Do you think
Really?
that's an interesting distinction?
Show me how. They just rolled the dice right up to a global conflict. I'm not speculating. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons Donald Trump didn't want a global conflict. He said that. I think he handled this, if what was announced today holds, I think we can say that was pretty amazing brinksmanship there. Scared the crap out of me. I'll tell you that. Why wouldn't I be afraid? Anyone who's like, oh, you were afraid. Really? Yeah. I care about America. Been here a long time, plan to stay. Like, why wouldn't I be afraid? It's a threat to my country. It's not. So I'm a pussy for being afraid. Okay. I'm a pussy.
Yeah,
but,
of nuclear war.
But I was.
Right.
Why wouldn't I be?
Yeah.
I have children. I'm actually not that worried about dying at this stage. I'm pretty old, but I am worried about people I love dying. So yeah, I was afraid. And I think anyone, in the same way you'd be afraid if you had a home invasion, you'd be afraid for your wife and kids. You're the dad. Like, it's your job to defend them. And maybe you're a little bit paranoid about it or something. That's okay. Paranoia in the defense of your loved ones is no vice. And so people...
I can't lie, Loomer has sounded quite crazy lately, in my opinion.
Who are like, oh, I see these creepy foreigners online being like, telling me what America First is. It's like, you're like, go away. I don't know what you're doing here, weighing in on my country's politics, but it's one of the things. Last thing I'll say is I'm not reading. I'm getting offline for a while because I think part of the gig is to get in your head to like put someone like Mark Levin, who's so reckless and stupid and crazy and vicious, or that lunatic girl who's running around who's equally or more so. And the point is to make you crazy, kind of like you see that and you're like, are you kidding? Mark Levin, the never Trumper, is lecturing me about what it is to like Trump, who I campaigned for Trump. And I think it's kind of an op or something. It's like designed to make you into a babbling crazy person, which unfortunately I've become a little bit tonight because I have such a mixture of emotions. So I'm sorry to inflict that on you. You're such a sweet person, Emily. I'm sorry. But I think it's good to step away from that a little bit and like have some silence in your life. And maybe the joke is on me that I'm all of a sudden paying attention to Mark Levin because I do feel like he was such a dangerous influence on the course of this country. But I'm gonna really studiously just ignore that for the same reason I don't have a TV. I don't want that crap in my house. There's nothing you're telling me that I didn't know. There's nothing you're telling me that's true. I just don't want it. In the same way, I don't like stream porn into my kitchen. Like
Tucker is the most based person ever. I love Tucker.
I don't want that. I think I'm gonna pull back from the internet a little bit, and I think I'll be a wiser person for doing so.
On that note, people will wonder if you believe that the last, 48 hours, 24 hours, actually 12 hours since Trump made this announcement proves that your worldview is in some way wrong, that, your restraint in foreign entanglements based on...
We just showed restraint. Trump forced a ceasefire between people who hate each other.
After striking.
That is restraint. Right. But the level of risk was really high for me. I'll just say that. I'm like genuinely conservative because I care. I don't even know if Mark Levin has biological children. I don't know that he does. I have no idea. I'll stop attacking Mark Levin. I'm just saying I see everything through the lens of my family. And why wouldn't I? I'm the head of my family. And that's my obligation. That's my duty to see everything through the lens of their well-being. And is this good for them? Tell me how exactly. So
yes, Tucker did destroy Ted Cruz. I wanted to react to it, but it won't let you on YouTube. You pretty much exposed him, I think, in that one part that went mega viral.
Oh, yeah. I felt really threatened by that. And I think that, all's well that ends well. It looks like and I think it's, again, I'm not just speculating. I think this is real for now. And I pray that it remains real. And I think it totally could. I think interests are aligned, actually. I think it's a very clever arrangement they've come up with, and I'm grateful for it. But
Does
I
it-
can't unsee what I saw, which is the behavior of people who claim to be conservative, who are identity politics lunatics, who are totally reckless and who just don't care about our country at all. So I can't unsee it. And I'm pretty determined to say what I've been saying for the last 20 years, 22 years since I left Iraq, which is the neocons are really destructive and they can't have power. Oh, shut up. You can't call us neocons. Okay, I'm over it.
Facts.
I'm over the mind games. That worldview, colonize the world, destroy your own country. I mean, the verdict is in. That did not work. It didn't improve the rest of the world. I can tell you, having been, and it definitely didn't improve my country. This country's in way worse shape than it was in August of 2001, flat out. I mean, it's just a fact. And by every measure, every single measure, including life expectancy. So you can't tell me this worked. It didn't work. And so I just want to keep saying that.
Well, would Iran have come to the table? I mean, would an agreement like this have been possible without the strikes in your estimation? Because that's the argument we're going to hear going forward.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You know, this happened on a Friday, and Steve Witkoff, who I consider one of the really decent people in government, who's serving at his own expense, with the sole purpose not to, aggrandize in any way or get rich or anything. He's only doing it because he thinks it helps Trump and America. And those are good motives, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I really think a lot of Steve Witkoff. He's just a wonderful man. And he was set to go to Amman on Sunday when this broke out last Friday. And so there was a process in place that was thwarted by another country. It just sort of ignored our process and decided like, oh, we're in charge of your foreign policy. And, that's a huge problem. That's not hate for Israel. I certainly don't hate Israel as a relatively frequent visitor to Israel and a great enjoyer of Israel. And as a Christian who loves Jerusalem and a friend of a number of Israelis, I'm not anti-Israel, but that's ridiculous behavior. And we're also intimidated to say that. I don't know why. Why are we afraid to say that? That's not good. Trump had a plan. He said so. So Witkoff said so. There's been a lot of lying about how that worked.
I was going to say that the reporting is that Trump was watching Fox News. He was really impressed with the Israeli strike. He wanted to project strength.
My understanding that is true, but the strike was, not something that we called for at all. Like Trump was trying to solve this diplomatically, and the whole thing got derailed by another country deciding we don't care what your diplomatic efforts are. We don't care what Trump thinks. We're doing this. That's a fact. And, that's okay. I mean, each country acts in its own interest, but don't tell me our interests are identical. They're not identical. No two countries' interests are identical. Our interest in Sweden's interests aren't identical. Like, that's a lie. And if you're telling me that, then you're lying to me. And I don't like lying, actually. And at all, especially about things that matter. So that's just a fact. That happened. Now, a lot happened since then, a lot. And it's quite complicated. But the bottom line is that we are, I think, in a really good place. Trump forced restraint on the parties. Did the bombing campaign help? The dropping bunker busters on 2 of the sites? Yeah, seems like it. No Americans were killed on the Iranian strike in Qatar. And let me just say one other thing that I resent simply because it's an offense against the truth. The constant attacks on Qatar, whose prime minister is, one of Donald Trump's like most trusted interlocutors, one of the people he trusts, and one of the people who really helped bring this to a peaceful conclusion. And Qatar doesn't want a war because they share a gas field with Iran, and they're right across the Gulf from Iran. Of course, it's not in their interest. But Qatar spends a lot of time and a lot of money. I know this. Kind of trying to broker peace between different countries. They are sort of a new Switzerland. Switzerland was, for generations, was non-aligned, and now it's aligned. It's effectively part of NATO, not officially, but effectively it is. And so Switzerland is not a good faith, mediator between any two countries at all. So, but you need one. You need a real UN, a place where warring countries can come together and try and come to terms. Like, it's really important to have that. And so there are a couple countries in the Gulf that serve that role now. One is UAE, Saudi to some extent, and Qatar. And that helps the United States. And by the way, Qatar has done a lot for Israel. Just a fact. Qatar has done a lot for Israel. In fact, its air base, which was just struck by Iran, the fact they have that air base is very provocative to Iran. Why do they have that air base? Why do we have so many bases in the Gulf? Well, a couple of reasons, but one of those reasons is to protect Israel. So for people who are like defenders of Israel to be attacking Qatar like it's a terrorist state, what liars! I guess they seem like they believe they get something out of that or making some compelling point or whatever. But it's just a lie. It just bugs me. I've never taken a dime from Qatar. I've been there one time. I'm hardly like a Qatar partisan. You know, I live in Maine. Come on. I've got nothing to do with Qatar. But I just hate the lying. It really bugs me. And by the way, it's a little much to be called, you know, a tool of a foreign power by people who actually like legit are tools of foreign powers. Like they are. I know them. I know that. They're reading talking points written by a foreign government on behalf of a foreign government. And they're like, everyone else is a tool of Qatar. Qatar? It's like, what? It's so nuts that I kind of ignored it at first because why would you be a tool of Qatar, a country of 300,000 people? You know, you took money from Qatar. I don't need any money from Qatar. I haven't taken any money. It actually makes me want to take money from Qatar. And just announce it. By the way, I'm working for Qatar now.
The money even, yeah.
But I'll just say, I happen to know people who live in that country and who make decisions in that country. And what a nice group of people. I mean, I don't agree with everything, every Qatari national objective, of course. I'm a non-Arabic speaker, you know, who doesn't, whatever, it's not my world. But my experience has been these are generally kind of good faith people. I know Donald Trump feels that way. And so I wish of all the dumb talking points that have been trotted out recently, the Qatari agent of influence, and they're controlling our universities. They're not controlling our universities. Like, are you joking? It's such a mirror of Russiagate. It just kind of freaks me out that so many people on the right are kind of running exactly the same playbook as people on the left ran 5 years ago. It's like everyone they disagree with is a tool of a foreign power. Okay. Everything is about identity politics. Gin up hysteria and fear to control people. It's like, I hate all of those things. I voted for Trump because I hate those things. I hated them when they happened after George Floyd died, when he OD'd on fentanyl. We all had to pretend he was murdered by a cop and some cop went to prison for it. It's like, the whole thing was like bewildering to me. I hated it. I said so. And now I see the Mark Levins of the world doing exactly the same thing. It's identity politics. It's fear. It's irrational. It's hysteria. And it is immediately going to motive. No one can possibly have a good faith disagreement with me. Everyone who disagrees with me is either a bigot or a tool of a foreign power. It's like, wow, man. If there's one thing I dislike about the left, it's behavior like that. And there are a lot of people on the so-called right who are behaving in exactly the same way. Exactly. It's almost like a costume party. It's like, are you kidding? I can't believe you're doing that. If there's one lesson of the last 5 years, it's like, we believe in free speech. We believe in hearing people when they speak, assessing arguments on the basis of like reason rather than emotion, rather than appeals to group interests. Are you joking? That's identity politics. We hate that. Well, I hate that. I'll always hate that. And I don't care if somebody stands up and says, I speak for all 56-year-old, mildly overweight, white Episcopalians from the Northeast. I'm not going to be like, yeah, that's right. I just don't. I believe in America. I believe in citizenship. I don't believe in that. And now we know who does believe in that. And there are a lot of them on the right, unfortunately. I will never believe in that.
I love you as a spokesman for the Episcopalian community. I mean, that's...
There are not many. By the way, I think they've kicked me out of the church, but whatever. I don't care. I'm just saying, even if it's my interest or my people's interest or whatever, I hate that style of politics. You will have a civil war if you keep talking like that. You have to appeal to citizenship and to universal principles that apply to everyone, to, you know, left-wing black ladies in Gary, Indiana, and right-wing white guys in Maine or whatever, and everyone in between, because we're all Americans. And if you don't start talking like that, you will break up. And it's not all Levin's fault, but it's like half the people I know, I'm conservative. I hate the liberals. Well, then why are you talking like one? Why are you talking? Why are you taking their worst ticks and making them your own? Why are you accusing other people on the basis of no evidence of being disloyal Americans? Are you kidding? Fuck you, by the way. How dare you call me a disloyal American? I mean, like, it's unbelievable. I hated it when the left did it. I hate it even more when National Review does it, which is endlessly. And why are they still around, by the way? Do you have any idea?
I suppose someone has to keep the gates. So someone has to tend to the
yeah, well,
locks.
but it's like such a Sisyphean task. Like, it's impossible. That rock cannot be pushed to the top of the mountain. You cannot keep the gates with the internet. So they're going to try and shut down the internet. Obviously, that's what all of this is about, is curtailing free speech. It's why DeSantis and a bunch of other governors signed hate speech laws. Republican governors signing hate speech laws. Texas, Florida. Are you joking? Oh, they're not hate speech laws. They certainly are. They certainly are. You're against Sharia law, but you are against criminalizing indecent opinions. Tell me how that's different from Sharia. Exactly. I'm an American. I am guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, guaranteed a right that God gave me, which is to express my opinions, whether you like them or not, in this country. That is America. And if you're passing hate speech laws, you know, who's the disloyal American? It's not me.
Tucker Carlson, host of the Tucker Carlson Show, so fortunate to get a slice of your time in this very, very busy day.
That's the end of that. I'm going to switch over to X because I have some crazy videos saved about Steve Bannon and what Trump said himself in regards to Israel and Iran conflict, which was going on until the ceasefire happened today. Trump was pissed, actually cussed during his live questions that he was taking from the press. But let's start with Steve Bannon and see what he has to say about the ceasefire. Let me know what you guys think, by the way. Do you think it was a good idea that Trump did this? I was kind of iffy at the time, but it seems like it worked.
You heard that hysterical, and we didn't make a comment. We let it all play out, and understanding that President Trump was working on this right there with the Israelis and the Persians. While he's working on it, he comes in there just like Ukraine. He's over there stirring it up in Ukraine. What did Trump tell him in Pompeo? Shut up. You better watch what you say. That was his quote in truth. Now you see the pressure on Trump, particularly the MAGA folks. Now you see the pressure on Trump. He's getting it from every direction. He's getting these guys 24/7 and Murdoch and all of them. And the donors and the corporatists and Wall Street, all of them. All of Fox, Murdoch on them nonstop. You see, he's sitting there negotiating a peace deal. Think this is like a cockpit over. These people hate each other. Hell, they've been taking out people in Haifa and in Tel Aviv, hitting them with ballistic missiles. The Israelis have air supremacy. They've been bombing Tehran. There are people dead. A lot of people dead and a lot more people wounded. And he's working on a deal to get a ceasefire for the 12-day war. He's trying to do that, bringing his judgment and his wisdom and also the ability to do another midnight hammer, right? And what are they doing? They're going to the floor of the Senate. President Trump, I just hope you understand the great unmasking. Now you know exactly. Well, you're sitting there trying to negotiate a deal. See what he's doing. See what that little jackal's doing. Just like you're trying to get something done in Ukraine, and he's stirring it up. He's stirring it up. And look at Levin calling you out on Twitter. Well, you're trying to do it because they knew you were working on something. They knew that you were trying to get the guns laid down.
Facts.
Just like in World War I. The 11th day of the 11th month, the 11th hour, right? Remember that? These hyenas, they're jackals. They're jackals. They feed off death and destruction. What Levin and these guys did in Ukraine and Fox did in Ukraine. You see them cheerleading Ukraine now? Where is it? Where there's 1 million people dead and wounded. Where is it now? Mersheimer's right. You're gonna yell and scream until you get down to the last Ukrainian. Now they got the young girls in Ukraine. Times got a story. People demographically is a disaster.
That's a fact. They are pulling people off the streets, beating them up, and throwing them in vehicles and putting them on the front line in Ukraine. So sad. Such a tragedy.
The young people are leaving. The mothers and fathers don't want these boys drafted, and Trump is sitting there trying to get peace. Do you understand what we said? He's trying to deport 10 million illegal alien invaders minimum here to get them out of the country and get our sovereignty back. Julie Kelly's going to report on that in a minute. Supreme Court's got his back. Suck on that, Weissman and MSNBC, Ari Melver. And he's working on a peace deal here. And then he's going to try to do something with the Russians. He's trying to stand the Chinese down. And the jackals, all the jackals want, the jackals are there for the arms makers, the arms manufacturers. Richard Barris. I'm so mad I could spit right now. When my mother said that, that's when I knew we had hit her tripwire and it was time to tone it down because
Who else doesn't love Steve Bannon? He is doing God's work. Now I'm going to react to one last video, and that is Trump himself this morning reacting to the Israel-Iran ceasefire, but supposedly there was bombs going off before then up until the last minute, and he's pissed. Let's see what he said.
But reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. Okay? I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize.
Those two big media chains will never apologize. They have been wrong on every occasion the past 10 years. They are despicable people.
I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Damn. Walking off like a boss. Trump's pissed, y'all, and he has a reason to be. I hope you guys enjoyed the live, though. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing Candace Owen and Pierce Morgan that was on today, and we're going to react to it together. Heard it was very crazy, but, I mean, we're living in crazy times. Thank you guys for watching the video. Have a blessed night. Peace.